Hi, good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to GRE Preparation Made Easy Verbal Ability class by Mr. Jaideep. Few instructions for the participants. Make sure you have a stable internet connection and noise-free environment. We recommend you to use a earphones for best experience. Also, please respect your instructor and your classmates. Do not write anything inappropriate on the chat box. Also, how to answer polls. You need to click on More button and then you will see Activities option. When you click on Activities option, you will get polls. Also, we have three packages, that is bronze, silver, and gold. If you upgrade to silver and gold, you will get extra benefits like evaluated mock tests, expert university recommendations, and so on. We also have free profile evaluation with our experts, comprehensive evaluation, university shortlisting, recommendation reports, and doubt clearance. We have free IELTS classes, that is from Monday to Friday, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. It is a 2-week course. And Duolingo classes, Monday to Friday. It is Monday to Friday, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. It is a 2-week course. Also, here are a few achievements. This is the Ubergrad website. You can select the country, course, and specialization. When you go and explore, you have countries, universities, courses, and exams. You can get all the information from here. When you click on solution, we have free file evaluation, talk to the counselor, country recommendation, course recommendation, also preparation stores, additional services. Also, weekly blogs are uploaded. You may go through them. To contact us, you can call us, WhatsApp us, or mail us. When you go on My Test Preparation and click on GRE Comprehensive View course, you get the handouts and the recordings. Also, I'll be sharing the link of previous classes as well. Thank you. Also, in case of any other query, you may ask at the end of the session. Thank you and have a great session.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can see me and hear me. A quick confirmation. Then I think I'll start sharing my screen. Can start the class. You guys
So,
can, yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, good evening, Himani. Others also, maybe you can be a little bit active. Just say hi or hello. That doesn't affect anything negatively, right? So it's better. Just do it. Just give me a simple hi. I hope that's not really. I mean, I can see some students here, so please. So just to give a confirmation that we have some active participation from the small group of students we have here. It would be good if you guys can. Thank you, Meghana. Good evening. Bhavik, Kashish. It's okay. Like, fine. So as in, see, I only, I'm going to take today's class just since our verbal trainer Anupina is not feeling well. So what I would do is to take today's class as it is, and then she'll be back from tomorrow and take your classes for the verbal part. Before I go ahead, what is it that I like? I'm not sure how many of you have attended today's class for the first time, or have you already attended some classes earlier? So I know that you guys are not answering. At least give me an answer if you guys have attended some of these earlier classes this week, because this is a continuation of short RC questions, right? Reading comprehension questions. So a quick confirmation for me. Like, have you guys attended some of the classes earlier on the short reading comprehension or reading comprehension with us? Do you guys know what is short reading comprehension? Guess just trying to be on one end of class wouldn't really help you to learn. So I mean, if by chance if you are being a little bit scared to answer in the chat, don't worry, right? You have nothing to lose. Just be confident. Just answer it. It'll help us to really, help me at least to understand and then maybe try to discuss things accordingly. So for some of you, it could be simply solving questions. So some of you might need a little bit more support in some fundamentals. So let's try to make it a little bit more active. Otherwise, I think there's no point. Come on, just answer. Like, is it your first class this week, or you guys have already attended a couple of classes now with us so far? No one is answering. It's hard for me also to really teach if I feel like I'm the only one who's talking here. Okay. Okay, so at least you guys have the access to the handout. Then let's go ahead and start the class. So see, we're gonna do short reading comprehension today's session. Give me just a second. Yeah. Right. So short reading comprehensions are typically the passages which are like shorter in length, let's say less than 300 words or 200 words or something like that. Typically small paragraphs which would have 1 to 2 questions to be around. In some exams or some places we also call these as a critical reasoning, depending on how the question type is or the question format is, where you would talk about strengthening an argument, weakening an argument, etc. So let's start with the question. So they have given a short paragraph here. Right, then you have a question. Each of the following is an assumption. So each of these options made in the argument except what. So go through it. Take like maybe 3 4 minutes. If you can give some answers, so it will help me to understand what is your understanding. Then maybe I can discuss on it further. Okay. Any other answers? Just wait for maybe a couple of minutes. So Ita Sakshi, I would be happy if you would be interested to give a short explanation in the chat, like why you felt option D is an answer. What made you like? What is the point that made you, go with it? And in the chat, it's a bit hard. If you're willing to unmute, also it's fine. We can let you do that. Okay, sightings are not mentioned. Anyone else with any answers? Smriti, can you actually let them unmute themselves in the settings part? Okay. Just give me confirmation if you have changed the settings so that if they want, they can.
Sir, could you please repeat? I wasn't able to get you.
No, I'm saying in the settings, can you let the students unmute their mics
Okay, sir, I'll
if
just
they
do
want?
that.
Thank you. Yeah, so we would give you that chance. So maybe if you feel you can add some inputs, it will be helpful for everyone to learn.
I've
So
done the changes. They can unmute.
thank you. Okay. Anyone else with answers? It's been like some time, I think. Others are there. If you can give what do you think are the answers, will help. Okay. See, so let's first understand the question type. So this is more in terms of assumption. So what is meaning of an assumption? So it is not explicitly, I mean, it is not directly talked about. So maybe just to give an example, let's say that eating right apple a day keeps the doctor away. Right? Let's take this example. So let's say this is a conclusion or this is an end statement that we are taking. Okay. So if you eat an apple every day, you don't have to go to a doctor. Okay, let's assume that's the conclusion. So what is the assumption over here? Quite a few assumptions you can draw, but a very standard one I would say is that if you eat apple, you will be healthy. It's good for your health. If you are healthy, you will not go to doctor. No doctor. Right. So this part is not being explicitly written in the statement. If I write the same thing in this way, that if you eat an apple every day, you will be very healthy. If since you are very healthy, you don't have to go to a doctor. That is sort of explaining things in depth. But for this conclusion, the assumption is automatically that which is not mentioned directly, but which is what it has been assumed is that if you are healthy, you will not go to doctor. That's one assumption. If you eat apple every day, you'll be healthy. That's the other assumption. There are two assumptions that are not written directly over here in this statement, but obviously that's how you will think in your head without even explaining it. But when we start to explain, that's how we sort of get to the assumption. Same story with here also, right? So assumptions are basically what are not written directly in the passage, but are helpful for you to actually reach a conclusion that's been mentioned, right? So something in those lines, conclusion, or whatever has been argued in the passage. Now let's. I mean, I don't know if you guys like to do it, but I would be happy if anyone is willing to do to rule out each option. So is there any option you guys think is definitely not an answer, like 100% sure out of this? The question is saying out of these 5 options, except one, the rest 4 are a valid assumptions, are assumed already to make a particular conclusion. What is the conclusion here? What is the conclusion here? Anyone would like to chip in? Like what is the end takeaway from this paragraph? The end paragraph, sorry, the end takeaway would be that we should, impose pollution rules in the other cities also. That's an argument, maybe not a conclusion here, but it's like something happened. From this, I learned or I believe that we should actually do something, right? So something has happened, or something is being observed, which is what they've written all the way here. This is what they've observed. Hence, they think, the author thinks that something must be done. That's the argument he's putting. Okay, what's the argument? He's saying that similar rules of air pollution must be imposed, must be put into action in other cities also. Okay, why is he saying so? Because he felt in the years since the city of London imposed strict air pollution regulations on local industry, the number of bird species seen in and around London has increased dramatically. So in London, some body has put strict regulations on local industry. Local industry could be, let's say, some manufacturing, something that makes something, okay, some industries, factories. The air pollution coming from that has been restricted, has been controlled with some strict rules. Since they've started doing it, what has been observed, the number of bird species seen in and around London has increased dramatically. That means they've seen increase very positively, very fastly, very highly. Okay. So since they have seen a good connection there, right? Something has been done and then that has led to a good output. Now they are saying, the author is saying, let's do something similar in other cities also to get a good output. That is what the basic discussion is. So what are the assumptions here that are there? See, in most major cities, air pollution problems are caused almost entirely by local industry. That is one aspect that this point A is saying. What is it saying? It is saying in most of the cities, big cities, major cities, the air pollution problems are caused by almost entirely by. What is the meaning of almost entirely? Like almost 100% or 80-90%, like majority is caused by local industry. This is one assumption. If it is true, right, or rather, is it an assumption that has been assumed in the question? Is the thing. If it is assumed, then it is wrong option, because as the question said, 4 out of 5 are clear correct assumptions. Only one is wrong assumption, which is not made. So now let's look at this. I would question it. Is like I would question this. I would not really say why, because see, I'll tell you the basic rule of thumb in these sort of questions in general RCs. When you say a very extreme statement, right? 100%, everyone in the city, everything, almost, none of them, everyone. This is 100% or 0%. This is also close to 100%. You have to be very, very careful, right? As in, those are probably the traps that I would want you to avoid. Those are not correct statements generally. Okay, so now let's look at the option B. Air pollution regulations in industry have a significant impact on quality of air. This seems like a valid assumption for me. Why? Because they are saying the moment they have controlled, or have put some regulations on air pollution by industry, they have started to see a good improvement. Okay, which basically means that quality of air has been improved because we are doing air pollution regulations. Obviously, the assumption is that air pollution regulations will have good impact on the quality of air. That's a valid assumption for me in the passage. Because if you don't improve the quality of air, there's no point, that the birds will be seen more. You'll see more birds, because that is automatically the reason why you're seeing more birds, is what the entire argument is. So it is a valid assumption. The air pollution problems of other major cities are basically similar to those once suffered by London. Again, this point is also valid. Why? Because when I say that something worked in London and the author is saying let's do it in other cities also, it basically means whatever is the problem in London is also similarly seen in the other cities. That is also assumed. That's why the author is saying let's do it in other cities also. So again, this is also a valid assumption, because whatever the air pollution problems of other cities are basically similar to what is seen in London. So this is also a valid assumption. So that means it's a wrong option, because I need to eliminate the incorrect assumption. I need to select the incorrect assumption. Rest all are actually correct assumptions, which are basically not a correct option for us. An increase in number of bird species in and around this city is desirable, right? So couple of you said that this is not discussed, but this is what we said. No, bird species seen in and around London has increased dramatically, right? It basically means that we are seeing more and more birds, and sort of there is an intent that we want to see more and more birds around the city. Okay, so it is sort of what the assumption you will have, because that's a metric they've used to say that if I'm seeing more birds around the city, which means it's a good thing. Either it's because they like to see birds, or is it because I'm able to see more birds, basically mean the air is more clear, the city is more clear, right? Like Delhi, Gurgaon has lot of those particles, dust particles, which makes it hard to see, a thick fog, versus I'm able to see clearly more and more bird species, which basically is maybe sort of desirable. That's why they are discussing the entire thing. So this is a valid option, that it is either that, or the other assumption is that I like to see more birds, basically maybe good for whatever the reason be. So it is positive thing. That's how they are treating here. That being able to see more birds since I am able to see more number of birds in and around, is a good thing. So this is also an incorrect option because of valid assumption. The increased sightings of bird species in and around London reflect an actual increase in the number of species in the area. Again, this is also not a bad assumption. See, these two are not very strong assumptions, but still not an incorrect assumption for me. This is still because why I am seeing more bird species in and around since the quality of air has improved. That could also be because that the quality of air is good, so a lot of birds are happy to come and be in and around here. So that's why we are able to see higher number of birds, which reflects the actual number of species surrounding the area. So valid assumption again. The problematic assumption for me is this, which is saying how can you say, or what is it that's being mentioned here that makes you feel that has been understood or rather assumed that almost entirely by local industry could be causing 30% problem, 10% problem, 5% problem. Something is a problem, it has been fixed and it has led to a good quality of air, better birds are being seen. So which is not necessarily true to say that it is entirely by local industry. As I told you, the entire problem with this, if it is said that some amount is caused by local industry, would have been a valid assumption, but almost entirely is a problematic point for us because it cannot be assumed that 100% or 80% a large percentage of the pollution is caused by local industry is not something you can assume here. Not necessary. Even if the local industry is causing only 30% pollution, and if I'm stopping it, it can still increase, the positive output of it, right? So that's why it doesn't necessarily have to be a true assumption that it has to be entirely caused by local industry. As I told you, the problem is with this extreme statement. If it is just said pollutions are caused by, partly caused by local industry, I think that's fine. So some part of the problem is because of local industry, you're fixing it. So it is also fixing the problem partially. So that's fine. But entirely, almost entirely means 100% or close to 100% is the biggest extreme statement. As I told you, always be careful with those extreme words like everyone, none, 100%, 0% sort of a statements. So let's do the other question. The second and third, but this is based on same paragraph. So let's try this short paragraph here. And then you have a question here, right? Any answers? Hmm. Anyone else? Okay. So, okay, so I think it's a simple question to read and understand the passage I'm talking about, and also the question can be a bit tricky. Let's look into it. In an experiment, the two different types of recorded music were played. For neonates are basically the young kids, right? Like, I mean, just newly born babies, basically. In adjacent nurseries in a hospital. Okay. Uh, in a nursery A, classical music was played. In nursery B, rock music was played. Right. Let's say I have like 30 newborn kids and I've split into two groups of 15 each, for example. They are in group A, group B. So group A got to listen to classical music and group B got to listen to rock music. For how long? No question, no point was mentioned. Is it for 1 hour a day, 24 hours a day? We don't know that. Okay. After 2 weeks, it was found that the babies in nursery A cried less, suffered fewer minor ailments. Ailments are problems, right? Some diseases are problems, and gained more weight than did the babies in nursery B. So the key takeaway, as in the conclusion drawn based on the paragraph here, is that Group A is more healthier than Group B. That's what this entire thing is talking about. Tried less, suffered fewer problems, and gained good weight right, than babies B. So obviously, we will assume that classical music worked better than the rock music. Always, when you have this experimental sort of questions, right? I want you to understand this will be called a control group sort of an approach. So if there's a Group A and Group B, and we did treat them differently, right? Group A got treated somewhere, like let's say treatment one, and Group B got treated treatment two, and at the end of the day, they say both of them are, so let's say Group A performed better or got treated better than B or something, whatever the outcome be. See, the immediate points that should come to your mind is, was the starting point the same for both the groups? Because I take, let's say, experimentation, I'll tell you that we are feeding them good food, some food like junk food is Group A, and some nice healthy organic food is Group B. But I intentionally, what would I do? I would put all the weak people in this. The group itself of organic food consists of weak people, like age-wise, physical fitness-wise, and all. In the junk food group, I'll put all fit people, right? Very fit people at the start of experiment. For a week, they have eaten pure junk. For a week, they eaten pure organic. After doing all the physical tests, Group A performed better. So junk food is better than the organic food. I can always draw that conclusion. So first thing you should always question is that are we putting the same type of people, right? Not like favorable, unfavorable group of people in different groups. The same input should go, and then we do some sort of an treatment to both of them, different ones, and then see the output and compare it. That is fundamentally what this question is also lost at. In evaluating the validity of the conclusion suggested by the experiment, the conclusion is this: Group A is more healthier than Group B, which basically means classical music is better than rock music, sort of a thing. It would be most important to know which of the following. What do you need to know? The musical preference of parents of the two group of newborns, completely irrelevant one. How does it matter? Like what the parents' preference is, right? Whether the newborn in both the nurseries were equally healthy and happy at the start of the experiment, right? Which is what the answer that I was talking about. Because as I told you that you should know if both of the newborn baby Group A, Group B are equally healthy and happy. because that's how you're measuring, no? Like cried less means more happier babies, suffered fewer problems means healthier babies, and gain more weight is also healthier baby. So if I put equally good babies into two groups, then only I can tell that the reason was the music, why something is better than the other. But if both of them are not equally healthier and happy babies, then I am doing a wrong input, so everything would get messed up. So this is very, very important for you to know to say that the valid conclusion or not. That's why this is the answer. But let's look at the other options also. Whether the loud rock music can damage the hearing of newborns, right? Again, so this one is irrelevant. Why? Because loudness, how loud is it, that can it damage or not, is irrelevant, because they have not talked about whether the babies have some ear problems, hearing problems here, right? They are talking about crying less, suffer fewer minor ailments, and gain more weight. That is nothing to do with the hearing issue. If the conclusion was more coming in the lines of only difference was the hearing problem, then I think the loudness could be something to discuss about, but not really. So again, a very bad option to select. What was the average weight of neonates was before and after experiment? Sort of average weight sounds like a good thing. Again, as I tell you, inputs being same. But the point is this, that it's not only about the weight, right? They have other issues also that they have compared against. So average weight would have made sense to be known if I am only saying that classical music babies have grown or gained more weight than the other. But it is not stopping only at weight. They are also talking about crying less and lesser, ailments, issues, health issues. So weight alone would not solve the complete answer, which is not the most important. It is asking you to know the most important option, right? Whether the music was played in nurseries at all times or only at certain times. So which is what I was telling Imani again. Much doesn't make much difference if I play for 24 hours or for 1 hour, right? It won't really have a difference in the what do they call it, the impact in terms of this. Now if you say that the music was played only for 1 hour in one group and 24 hours in the other group, then it is a difference, right? That's agreed. So this one I would not outright say it's a wrong option, because listening to music for long hours versus short hours could also have some impact. So maybe that's a valid point to just put up across. But when I look at the most important word, I would say any experiment groups, where that's the key thing you should always keep in mind. What was the initial stage before we started the experiment? Were the same groups or not? That is the key thing for you to know. Healthy, for you to talk about the ailments and weight. Happy, for you to know about the trying nature of them, right? That's why the best option is option B. That's a valid option, right? So let's do the other question in the same passage. Which of the following additional experimental data would support the hypothesis that classical music is beneficial to development of newborns? So there's 5 options and give an answer. So as in whatever the option is select should give you a strong, support to the point that classical music is beneficial to the development of newborns. When you go through the options again, being a good number of nurses would not really, help uh, to say that classical music is beneficial, no? Right. So again, I'm telling you the purpose is this, that the point that the option you select should strongly support the fact, or rather the conclusion, that classical music is beneficial to development. Right. I'll tell you there are 2 ways I can look at this. Okay. The earlier paragraph, you look at it. After all the experiment, it is saying group A is better than group B. Okay. Now there could be 2 reasons. What is it? So there is group A, there is group B, which listen to classical music, rock music. Let's have a third group, which I'm just adding for the sake of our discussion. Let's call it Z group, which has nothing. No music has been, been played for these kids. It's a neutral group that we're talking about. There are three possibilities. Okay, what is that? The group B is worse than group Z. That no music group. What do I mean by that? After making the group B listen to rock music, and there's a group of newly born babies who have listened to no music for like days or 2 weeks, and the weight and crying parts and all is better observed in group Z than group B. What does it mean? It means that rock music is bad. It is detrimental. It is affecting negatively. Okay, the same logic we can say if group A, which is listening to classical music, and group Z, which is listening to nothing, are being compared, and we got a conclusion that the classical music babies are better than the no music babies. It means the classic music is having a positive impact, right? That is what it is asking. Beneficial. That means a positive thing, right? Uh, so obviously, as what both of you said, the option C is correct. But let's do one by one. The neonates in a nursery where no music was played fared better than those in nursery B. This is what I told. That rock music babies performed worse, or the neutral babies have performed. No music babies have performed better than the rock. What does this mean? Doesn't mean classical music is beneficial. It means that rock music is bad. Is what the first option is supporting, or rather would be helping you to mark for. No, this is the wrong option. Nursery A contains 15% more premature babies than nursery B. This is the premature part that we're talking. Again, this is like a difference in the input I was talking about, right? That is when I'm experimenting, I should have same type of babies in both the groups. This is sort of giving you that same vibe that group A had a problematic babies, premature babies is problematic babies, right? Whereas here, again, doesn't really help you to say classical music is beneficial. Okay, so again, this is also ruled out. The newborns in nursery A cried less, suffered fewer problems, and gained more weight than newborn with no music. This is the absolute comparison, right? No music people, when you compare with them, the group A classical music people have performed better. So that means classical music is beneficial. Right? That is what is the correct answer. The music played in nursery was louder than that of B, not really of difference, right? Okay, so again, cannot say that it is beneficial because I played loud music, it affected more, is what you can say. So again, none of these options. Again, nurses being more or less, right? Ratio of nurses to newborns is 1:4, 1:6. Doesn't really give you a sense classical music is beneficial. Okay. So it only says that there was an advantage for one group over the other. Cool. So let's do this, the fourth one. So here in actual GRE, you would not have mostly questions like this. Rather, you will have the check boxes of three options, multiple correct answers. You need to select whatever are the options are valid. But this is something on the similar lines. You read the paragraph, tell me which options are the correct options. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So we believe only option two is only this is true. So let's discuss this. Uh, Current farm policy is institutionalized penalization of consumers. So institutionalized means that through a system, a government system. Okay. So you have legalized it or sort of institutionalized it. Penalization is penalty, right? You are affecting negatively on consumers. That is, you are making consumers pay more with some farm policy that a government has taken, some rule for farmers that they have taken is basically penalizing or affecting the monetary negative way for consumers. It increases the food prices for the middle to low income families and costs the taxpayer billions of dollars a year. What are the points it's saying? High price for the people to buy. That's one. High price to buy. The second one is also basically meaning that it is costing the taxpayer billions of dollars of a year, as in the government is giving some subsidy, right? The government is spending some money to give to farmers for something, which is why they are wasting the billions of dollars of taxpayer money, right? That's what they are blaming. The author is blaming. Which of the following arguments, if true, or statements are if true, would provide support for the author's claims above, right? These are the 2 points that the author claimed basically, if you look at it. So the farm subsidies amount to roughly 20 billion a year in federal payouts and 12 billion more in higher food prices. This point is straight away, you know, in both of them. Okay, so farm subsidies are $20 billion. That's why it's wasting a lot of taxpayer money. And also they are costing more for the food price wise, right? Higher food price for the consumers to buy. So definitely this point is what that is being argued. So option one is definitely correct. According to study by the Department of Agriculture, each $1 of benefits provided, like a subsidy or like imagine, right, to farmers for ethanol production costs consumers, taxpayers $4. It's exactly aligned with what it's saying, right? So government is giving some subsidy to produce ethanol for farmers, and that is actually costing consumers and taxpayers $4. Whatever has been mentioned in the form of a text or argument by the author has been put up here with the numbers, right? Statistics. This much money is being given a subsidy, wasting taxpayer money. This much money is costing and higher food prices. And this is the money given as a subsidy. And that is again, giving a higher price for the consumers to buy it. So both the options are correct. The average full-time farmers have an average net worth of $300,000. This is talking about the money the farmers has. So in a way, you can deduce that this is an argument someone is putting to say, why should we give a subsidy if they have so much of money? But it is not what the conclusion argument is making. The claim is that it is being wasted. That's it. It has nothing to do with how much the farmers have in terms of money, because the author is not saying you should stop it. The author is only saying it's a problematic penalty on the consumers. They are not talking about something related to action in terms of fixing something. Like farmers don't need it. They're already making a lot of money. That is not being discussed here. That's why this option doesn't make any support for the claim. So that's why option one and two are correct. So that's why the answer should be D first. Right. So let's do one last question. I think with that we can end. There are a couple more in the handout. You can follow it and we can take it as simple. But just let's solve the last question and then we'll wrap with this. Yeah, both of you are saying option B as the answer. So let's read the passage. It says, in many surveys, American consumers have expressed a willingness to spend up to 10% more for products that are ecologically sound, right? Environment friendly, sort of it, right? So there a lot of surveys have shown that the Americans are willing to spend up to 10% more, right? If you increase the price a little bit more, we are okay for it, provided we believe that it is environment friendly, right? Let's assume that. Encouraged by such surveys, there's a company, Bleacho Corporation, which promoted a new laundry detergent, Bleacho Green, as safer for the environment. Bleacho Green costs 5% more than typical detergent, which is within the 10% range. A lot of surveys have proven to be okay. After 1 year, Bleacho Green had failed to capture significant share of the detergent market. Share as in like what percentage of the detergent powder sold constitutes of Bleacho Green sales, right? That's what share is talking about. Like if there are 100 kgs of detergent sold in a market in a year, how much of it was the Bleacho Green? Let's say if it's 5 kgs there competing with others, it's a 5% market share. So it did not do well. The market, it could not capture the market, and that's why it was withdrawn from sale. That's the entire story. So something, though it is within that 10% range, a lot of surveys have shown its environment safely product was 5% more than the market price, but still it could not do the enough sales. That's why they have withdrawn the thing. So the question is asking, which of the following questions is least likely to be relevant in determining the reasons for the failure? Right. So in these options, which is the least likely the reason, right? Or which of the following is the least likely a question? Because all of them are questions. Okay. If I have answers or data for based on each of the question, which of those question and the answer would be the least important one to help me determine the reason behind the failure? Why did it fail? So let's look at each of it. So how effective as a detergent was bleach or green? Green, right? It's important. It's an important question, and the answer is important. Why? If it has a very useless output, right? As in, let's say whatever the metric be that it is able to wash the clothes more effectively. If it is not effective, if the answer says it is not as effective as others in washing the clothes, then that could be a reason why it failed. Because even if the price is less, and I mean 5% only more, and it is like eco-friendly, but if it is not doing the job, people will not buy it. So that's why this is a strong question and answer that will tell why it failed. So this is not the answer for us because I need to pick the least important one. How many other detergents on the market were promoted as safe for the environment, right? This is what some of you have said. Looks like a decent option. Let's put it aside for now. Why? Because see, how does it matter how many players are there in the market claiming to be eco-friendly? Okay, so that's what you are feeling. So it is irrelevant. That's why we would put that aside, and maybe that's an answer. Some of you have said. And then, how much more did Bleacho Green cost to manufacture than ordinary detergents? This is a point. Okay, how does the cost of production help me? Let's say I'm selling for $105, and it cost me to make $50 or $60 or $70. How does it matter how much it costed me? Because at the end of the day, for consumer, it doesn't matter. What matters to consumer is how much is the price they have to pay to buy it. That's why this also looks like a valid option. I'll keep it aside for now. We'll come back to both of them. To what extent did consumers accept the validity of bleach or green advertised and promoted to consumers? So whatever is the claim that these guys are making, how much is it accepted by consumers is a question. That will give an answer which will tell me if no one is accepted that their claims are true, that they're eco-friendly, they're more effective in cleaning, then they will not buy it. So that's why it's a very important question. And if people don't believe, that's why it would have failed. So again, this is a valid question and I need to select a very useless question. That's why this is not the correct option. How effectively was bleach or green advertised and promoted to consumers? Again, it's an important question. I might have a great product, but if I'm not marketing it well, then obviously people will not know about it, people will not like it, people will not be appreciating the brand, and they will not buy it. So again, even if the product was good, if it was not advertised and promoted to consumers properly, it will fail. That's why it's an important question to know why it failed. That's why again, it's an incorrect answer. Now, between these two, right, I would say this is the right answer because the cost to manufacture has no impact in telling why it failed. Somehow people might feel that if the cost of manufacturing is $1,000, automatically the company will sell it for more than $1,000, which basically means that's why people will not buy. but they've clearly written here that they're only selling it 5% more than typical detergents, right? If the typical average price of market is $100, they're selling it for $105. I don't care how much it costed them, because the question is not talking about they made less profits. Okay, the question is talking about they could not do enough sales. So cost of making a product has no impact on the sales. The cost of the product is definitely having impact on sales. The product effectiveness is definitely having impact on sales. So this is a valid question and the least likely question that will tell you whether it is a reason for failure or not. How many other detergents in the market are promoted as safe in environment is also not very important, but I would still say better than this. Why? Because if there are 100 players who are also claiming to be eco-friendly and they are also doing at $101, $102, etc., then they have nothing, to really stand out against the others, right? If you are one of the rare products which is claiming eco-friendly, then maybe people will buy. But if everyone is having a product of eco-friendly, which is not mentioned anywhere here, that's why if there are a lot of players who are also promoting themselves as eco-friendly, then it would not work for them to compete in the market, because they are not the only product which is eco-friendly. So this is also an important question to say why they have failed. If there is no competitor with eco-friendliness, zero competitors, then okay, I understand. If they have a lot of competition, then that could be a reason why they fail. So again, this is also an invalid option. So the only valid option is option C for us, right? So I hope you got a sense of why option B is not the answer and C is the answer. So as I said, there are a couple more questions here, 6 and 7. So you can take it as a homework. On similar lines, again, weaken the argument and sentence, the conclusion all here. So you guys can make it. You also have a key. And again, if you have a doubt, we like whenever I am here, or maybe the trainer, verbal trainer, Ms. Annapurna will help you out with that, discussion part. Are there any questions before we end? We've reached the time for the class. So if you have any doubts, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, Smriti can take over and end the session. Great then. So I will end. Smriti can take over and do the conclusion.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Himani, uh, by tomorrow I will clear this doubt of yours, and yeah,
So
by
yeah,
tomorrow I'll let
Smriti,
you
I
know.
will. I'll take it over. I'll answer this. So Himani, I would
Oh,
tell you
okay,
that
sir.
we have we have the handouts that you can use. But let's say if you need more information, more material to practice, what I would suggest you to go for is the official guides, right? ETS is the company which conducts the GRE exam. You have ETS official guide, and you also have ETS verbal reasoning practice book. Okay. You can also search for PDF versions. You'll get them. If you want to buy, you can also buy them. I would say these would be the best. Both of them combined would have close to 300 to 400 verbal questions. You will have great practice with them. On top of the handouts that we have and the content you have, you can also enroll for our the GRE comprehensive course, right? Which has almost, I think, another 300, 400 questions of short essays, long essays, text completion, sentence equivalent, and vocabulary material. So using that as your base version, and then to get more practice, you can go ahead and take these two books: ETS official guide, which is both quant and verbal. Then ETS has verbal reasoning practice guide and also quantitative reasoning practice guide. You can go ahead with these two also. The official books, so the quality of questions and the format of the questions are like the perfect ones that you need to practice and get used to for the actual exam. Hope this answers your question. So we can take.
Yes, sir. Also, if you have any other doubt, you may please let me know. Otherwise, I may end the session. Thank you.